Alright, so today I need to make a dust shoe for my new CNC spindle. So I thought while I was at it, I would just go ahead and record my process in Fusion 360 and make a little Fusion 360 tutorial for how I would go about this. Now let me just start by saying I'm not a Fusion 360 expert by any means, but I do make parts in it all the time and pretty successful in getting what I want. So first thing that you have to do, if you've never used Fusion 360 before, is get it downloaded, get an account, free account for personal use set up, and open it up, and you'll end up here. From there, I have Untitled right here. One of the best things you can do is just go ahead and save that right away. My design I have in mind is actually 3 pieces. There's going to be a bracket on the top that goes to the top of the spindle. There's going to be a bracket on the bottom that's identical but has magnets in it to hold the actual dust shoe. And then there's going to be the dust shoe itself. So I'm going to do them in that order. So this will be dust shoe top. All right, and I'm going to save that. So now what we need to do is start a sketch. So we'll go up to here to create sketch. And then we have to select a plane to work on. And I always select this one, which usually works right. You can see up here that the home is looking straight, the top is looking normal. This all looks normal to me. So my spindle is an 80mm spindle. So I'm gonna come up here, grab the circle tool. You can also just hit C on your keyboard, and I'm gonna put it right there in the center, and I'm gonna drag it out. Oh, something else I gotta change real quick. So I'm gonna hit escape. I'm gonna come over here to document settings, and I'm gonna change this to millimeters. By clicking on this, and then we'll change this to millimeters. I oftentimes work in inches, but for this 80mm spindle, this is going to be a lot easier. So, all right, hit the C, make a circle, and then just draw it out, and then just go 80 and enter. That's all you got to do. I'm going to close this over here. I like as much. We'll come back to that. We'll need that eventually, but I'll hit this hand. I'm just going to move this over here. I'm going to do another circle. So I'll hit C for circle. This doesn't have to be exactly in line, but you can see that if you hit this thing and just kind of drag it, it will actually put it in line with the axis. If this is the x-axis, probably. It makes it parallel to the x-axis, right? Just kind of by default. So I'm going to click there and come out, and this one needs to be 61. And what this is for, this is going to hold the tube that's going to suck my dust up. And I'm going to actually just use a 2-inch PVC pipe. It measures out at 61mm. So that's what I'm going to use for that. Now, first thing I want to do is I'm going to take this, select this circle, and I'm going to offset it by 16mm. So you can just put in 16. So this will be where the spindle goes. This will be the outer part of the bracket when all is said and done. So I'm choosing 16mm as the basic overall thickness of the part itself. It's basically going to consist of 2 holes, one for the tube, one for the spindle, with 16mm of meat around it that will house the brush at the bottom on the shoe. It'll house the magnets to hold the shoe to the bracket. So 16 is going to be the number I'm using. What I want to do is move this circle right up as close to here as I can. Just move that right over here. And that's good. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to do the same here and do our 16mm offset. And type in 16, enter. Okay. So now what we have is the 2 essential parts. And now we need to just connect them on the outside here. Now, I'm sure there's a way to do this more elegantly, but I basically just get there. And then if you kind of see how that changes to like a 0 right there, that seems to be like the point that you'd want to actually connect it to. Because see, if you go beyond that, you can see it starts coming down. I'm following the circle, as you can see with the X and my cursor. But right there seems to be like the point, right? That is the, I'm sure there's a geometric term for it, apex of the circle or whatever. And I think we were on it. I think that was based on where I started from. Whoops. So I'm going to escape that because it's getting crazy. But see there, I got that line going. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'm going to hit L for line. Use the keyboard commands. And look, it wants to go right to there. So, I mean, I can move it. I can move it other places, but that 0 is what we're looking for. I think it's a tangent or something, right? So escape to get out of this thing. Now I'm going to hit T for trim tool. And what I'm going to do is come in here. I want to get rid of this. And I want to get rid of this. And if you do something you didn't mean to do, you can Control Z and get your piece back, right? But I want to T trim that, T trim that, T trim this, and this, and this. So now we have the basic shape. Okay, so eventually what's going to happen, again, this is the upper bracket we're designing here, but there's going to be some symmetry all the way down through. So what will end up happening is our brush will be right in this, oops, we'll go right in here. Okay, so your spindle makes the chips here, and your vacuum sucks them up here, and then this brush contains it all, obviously. Anybody that's watching this for CNC purposes understands where we're headed. If you're watching for the Fusion portion of this, then that's what we're going for here with this. So I think it auto saves, but I like to just hit Command S every once in a while, or File Save, just to make sure I got my changes saved. So now the next thing we need to do is we need to make a clamping mechanism to clamp these things, clamp this to the spindle, and to clamp this to the dust collection pipe. So I'm thinking about my machine. Oh, there's something else we need to do first. On my machine, the spindle bracket that holds the spindle in place bolts to a plate over here, and the distance from here to that plate is only 12 millimeters. So what I need to do is cut the end of this off to make it so it'll fit. So the way I'm going to do that, and again, I'm not an expert, I just do the things I do. I'm going to come out, see how it wants to follow this. It's giving me that line of, if I keep going, whoops, it'll go straight through that other circle. So that's the parallel to the axis line, right? So I'm just drawing that out as it's basically a construction line. I'm not going to change it to a construction line. I'm going to escape to get out of that. If we go over here, okay, I could change this to oops, that's the center line, but construction line. Okay, and I will for this, but I don't need to because I'm going to delete it anyway. But if you're making drawings or something, that's very handy to know. But what I want to do is I want to draw another line. So I hit L, or you could come up here to this line. I'll just do that this time. And I'm going to come out about where I want it. And I'm going to draw straight up. And you see how it's giving me the right angle? And it says 90 degrees. So Fusion makes it so easy to do basic stuff like this. And, I'm going to put it out here in left field just to show you, because I don't need to try and estimate where it's going to go. I can put it anywhere. I can put it here. I can put it anywhere. The thing I really am looking for is for it to be perpendicular to the axis. I want it perpendicular to the circles, basically. And I'm going to hit escape, and then we're going to hit D for dimension, and I'm going to go from this circle to this line. Okay. We are half of 80, so 40 plus 12 is 52. So I type in 52, enter, and it puts that right where I want it. And okay, we're going to hit L. I'm just going to click on this line. I'm just going to draw it down so that it goes all the way through my part. Okay, now I essentially have two lines, but that doesn't matter. Like I said, we're going to delete some of this stuff here any second. So now I'm going to press escape to get out of the line tool. I'm going to press T to get my trim tool. And I'm going to start deleting stuff I don't need. Okay, I don't need that line. I don't need this line. I don't need that line. I wonder if there's an extra one here. There probably is. All right, and this construction line. Okay, so now this part will actually fit onto the machine because that plate and not interfere with the plate that's right here. Just to give you an idea of what we're doing. I'll hit R for rectangle. So on my machine is actually a plate that goes right there. So that's the issue that we're working around. All right, so now that that's properly sized and everything, we need to make this so that these can be clamped. And I'm thinking about the layout. This is basically me standing at the machine. I'll be looking at it from here, looking this way. So I'm right when I want to operate this clamp. I'm right-handed. Probably going to want to grab that bolt and tighten it right here. I think I like it right here. So I'm going to grab a line. I'm going to hit L. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to come this way. And I wish there was a way. I'm sure there is. Basically making this 90 degrees. Like, so to me, this is not 90 degrees, and that's not 90 degrees. So, and I'm looking for something to, oh, that says 16 millimeter. So there you go. I'll go by the measurement. So 16 millimeter, boom, right there. And then I'm going to just make another line right beside it. And then again, with these things, see how it's showing the parallel signs? Those are called constraints. I'm not going to get into that too much. But that just shows, that's showing that these are parallel. And what happens is eventually these things they'll be everywhere all over the place if you have a drawing of any significance. And sometimes I'll just shut those off so that they clutter up. They're important to have, but you don't necessarily need to look at them all the time. So sometimes I'll shut those off. Same thing with dimensions. Sometimes once you start getting a lot of dimensions and stuff, because really in order to lock these things down, you need to dimension things out. See how this circle is blue? This one's black. This one's fixed to the point we started at. Let's just go ahead and I'll hit D and dimension this. See if we can make that turn black. And I'm just going to hit enter because it is what it is. And that did not make it turn black. But I can make it turn black by making these two circles collinear. Did that do anything? No. How about just fix? How about just fix? There we go. That wasn't that hard. All right. I find Fusion 360 to be intuitive enough that you can, with a few basic skills like you're seeing here, you can figure out a lot. So now I have this is going to get clamped. So what I want to do is hit my T tool, take out that little section and that little whoops. Command Z. Sometimes you have to zoom in to get the little pieces to. Not sure why that's not. I must not be on trim tool. There we go. And I don't know how I got off a trim tool, but so what you can see now is what we're going to have is we'll make a clamping force here. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to run a bolt through. I've got some 10 millimeter barrel nuts. So I'm going to put a thing right here. And I'm going to go actually like 9.75. Actually like 9.5. And what I'm going to do is hit D for dimension. And I'm going to just there to there. 38.5. There. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to make a line from the center of this bolt, L for line, and we're going to come straight out here. And, you know, I'm trying to think the best way of doing this, and honestly, because if I go to the center point of that line, I'm just going to eyeball this, right? Because this is just where I'm going to add meat where needed. So I'm actually going to favor it this way a little bit. Okay, and that's going to be a construction line. That's the path my bolt's going to take to get to this knot right there. So now what I need is a line that is perpendicular to that point of travel. And it says it's 14 millimeters right there. I think basically what I need is about 15 millimeters, but That's on both sides of the bolt. So I need like, let's go 7 or 8. And I want it to be approximately 8. This is 8.52. All right, that's good. And now I'm going to click that. And I'm going to come through that. And this time I'm going to actually dimension this. So I want it to be 16. And there we go. Then I'm going to come off of here with another line and just bring this to where it hits, which is right there. I'm going to get my trim tool out. Going to trim this out. Going to trim this out. I'm going to zoom in here. You know, I don't like that. I think I'd rather do this. I think I'd hit a line here. So a lot of this, I'm just designing this as we go. So sorry that it fits. But I want this to hit like, I mean, I guess we want to hit, where's the highest? Like if you do this, right, it hits right there. So there, hits right there. There we go. That's what I want. So escape that. Now we got some cleanup to do here. I'm also going to do L for line. Continue this. Try and get it. It'll show you. It'll click where the actual parallel continuation of that segment is. Okay. Escape. T for trim. And get rid of this. And get rid of this. And get rid of this. And get rid of that. And get rid of this. Okay. Now see how all the constraints start getting kind of... Get rid of that. Oh, see, now I can see I had a line there. I don't even know where that came from. I need my trim tool T. There we go. So that's looking a little better as far as that goes. I need a dimension of this. The reason I need a dimension of this, so I'll hit D for dimension. 7 point, okay. That's all I wanted. 7.95 is what we're going to use. So from the center line of this face, we need to be 7.948. And now we need to do the same for this. And I just need to decide where we're going to clamp this thing. I think it's going to be right here. So let's zoom in with my scroll wheel and hit L for line. And let's go right here. And let's go find that 16 millimeter mark. Wrong way. 16 right there. Oh, the other thing I needed to do, I don't know if I did this or not. Escape. I want 2 millimeters between these. So let's dimension there and there. Call that 2. I don't know if I did that on the other one. I'll have to see. Trim tool. That one. That one. That's what we like. 2 millimeters. Whoa. And then over here. Gonna dimension this to see where we're at here. Oh, you never did do 2, did you? So now you gotta change that to 2. And that's amazing how it does that. Fusion 360 is awesome. It cleaned everything up for me automatically. So that was cool. All right. So now I got the proper clamping clearance. All right. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make a construction line. We're going to come into here, find the center point, which is right there, and just eyeball it out. Oh, yeah. But what I do need to do is get my circle. So circle, and a 9.75. Now, this line here, I think if we continue this line all the way through, I don't think that, see, that misses the center of that. Let's delete that. I want to hit the center of that. So I'm just going to eyeball this as far as what looks right. I think that's too close to there. I think that's going to require me to add a lot of meat. So I'm going to go right there. I like that. Right there looks good. Escape. That was supposed to be a construction line. I don't know why it wasn't, but now it is. Make a line that's perpendicular from here. I want it to be about 16 millimeters, so I'm going to do the same thing I did. Bring that down until we hit around 8. That looks good. That's perpendicular to that, and then we're going to do another line. It just continues that going forward, and that's going to be, this should be 8 exactly. I don't know what happened on the other side. If you look, you'll see, where's the fit? I like to hit fit once in a while. Okay. So now when we put in our bolt hole here, we know that that's exactly 8. This one ended up at 7.95. I could fix that, but I'm really not in the mood to. So I'm going to take a line here and go and find the tangent of that, which is right there. All right. I'm liking how this is going. Now we're going to get our trim tool. Hit command, just hit T. And I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that. It looks like if we scroll in here, we got a little issue here. It needs to go away. And then we need to hit our line tool, L, and continue these forward. I'm not sure that's straight. No, it's not. It's perpendicular to the... Oh, that's... Okay, that's fine. You know what? In real life, that's not going to make any difference at all. Get our trim tool. You know, I do want to fix it though. See how that's crooked? That needs to go away. And that needs to go away. And we need to draw a line that just continues straight. There. That's better. I'm sure there's better ways of doing all this. Shouldn't have got rid of that. I guess I gotta fix that up. And remove this. There. That's better. I'm liking this. I think it's time to just put some fillets. And there's a tool, I'm sure. There's a shortcut. All right. We're just going to use it right off the menu. There we go. And here. And now it's... See, that's a 2mm. Let's change that to 5. 5's nice. All right. 5, 5. We'll do 5 over here. I like 5. Oh, it told me what it was. Yeah. Okay. And then 5. 5. The thing you got to be careful of this is make sure my bolt head hits perpendicular meat. It should be fine. All right. Let's finish the sketch. I'm going to click on this plane right here, the part. See how the whole part lights up? And then you can either right click and hit extrude down here, or you can just hit the E, and then you can drag it up a certain amount, or you can type in a certain amount. I want 16. And then there's our part. Except for we're missing a hole. I gotta go back to... So I'm gonna actually just delete that. So down here, you have everything we've done so far in order. So here's the sketch we made. Here's the extrusion we just did. I'm gonna delete this whole extrusion. Delete. Right click and delete. And then I'm gonna do this again. That. Okay, see how this hole is... We need to hit shift. Where's this hole? That's weird. I've never ever had this happen. Oh, that's a construction. Okay, we need to edit the sketch. Right click, edit sketch. Somehow I got my circle as a construction line, and I don't want it as construction line. Okay. Beautiful. All right. Now we'll save the sketch. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. So now we'll hit E for extrude. And we have to select right now. If you just hit E, it doesn't do anything. What it's telling you is you need to select the profile. So select the profile. Okay. And then you get your arrows and your box and all that. And I'm going to do 16. Enter. And there we have it. So another thing too is if you all get all discombobulated, just hit the home button up here and it'll kind of pull you back to where you started from. If you want to hit it straight on, hit top, and then you can also hit these things to rotate it around to where it should be. Okay, so get you back where you're oriented to. But if you see these annoying things when you're looking at it, you can just shut. It's your sketch you're seeing, so shut the sketch off, and that goes away, and all you see is your part. Now for the top bracket, which is what we're doing. This is pretty much all I need, except for we got to put in the bolt holes. So now we'll put in the bolt holes. So what we got to do is create another sketch. I'm gonna turn this just a little bit because I want to operate on this face right here. There's a couple ways of doing it, but the way we've been doing it is create sketch, right? And then you got to select a plane, right? And before, when we had nothing, we selected one of these. This time, you can select any plane to create your sketch on. We're going to select this plane right here. And we are going to do a circle. And we're going to just kind of, I'm going to intentionally try and do it. It just wants to center it. That's just how awesome Fusion 360 is. But I'm going to intentionally try and make it off kilter so we can dimension it. You can see it move to where it should be. So I'm going to go 0.3 inches. Okay, which is 7.62 millimeters. So that gives me clearance for my 1/4 bolt. Now, this needs to be, I gotta check and see which one this is. This is the one that's 7.95. Okay, so I'm going to dimension this from here to this face right here. Sometimes you got to turn your sketch a little bit. There we go. D to there, to there. 7.95. Well, I don't love that gets into our fillet, so we're going to fix that after. And it's doing exactly what I want. It's putting my circle, my hole, in the middle of this bolt hole up here. Now I just need to dimension from here to the top, and that needs to be 8 millimeters. There. Now we're finished this part of the sketch, so we'll finish that. So what I want to do is select this and hit, oh, and you can see you got to hit that too. So hold shift and E for extrude. And what we're going to actually do, now it says I got 2 selected. That's because the other part of that thing is running through the fillet. So the fillet kind of divided it up. And I don't know, I'm just going to go random 25 to see what that gives me. Enter. And it says no target body found to cut. So I need to go -25. So just put a negative sign in front of that. Okay, if you click on this extrusion over here down bottom, it'll show you how far I went. So 25 was that far. What I want to do is go just beyond. I don't want to poke out through. I could just make this go to, if I could watch this, I could go edit feature, right click and then edit feature. I could pull this thing all the way through. In fact, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do it this way. Sometimes you want an exact amount, right? So you put the number in here. Sometimes you can just eyeball things and make it go a lot faster. Yeah, I think that's fine. That gives my bolt a little room to screw through there. The only thing I don't see that I don't like right now is this, the head of the bolt is going to partially be resting on a curve, which I don't like. So I'm going to go back into the main body sketch where we put that fillet, and I'm going to edit sketch. I right clicked on the main body, hit edit sketch. I'm going to change this to 3 millimeters. Finish sketch. So now you can see that my bolt is fully resting on square parts. I could have made this whole edge a little, moved it out, made it a little beefier over here, but I don't think that's necessary. This is holding a PVC pipe. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Now we got to do this next one over here, and this one's probably going to have a worse issue, honestly. So we're going to create a new sketch. Create sketch on this plane. I'm going to do a circle, so I'll hit C. I'll put it about where it's going to go this time. So I'm going to just hit 0.3 inches. There we go. And then I'm going to dimension this from here to here. This one's a true 8. See, yeah, it's on that fillet. We got to change that. And this one needs to be true 8. All right. And then finish the sketch. And then turn the sketch on. And then we're going to extrude. See, that's going to be on that thing too. Let's see if we can fix that. So I'm going to edit the sketch of the main body. I want 3mm. There we go. So good, that gets it off the fillet. So now our bolt will bolt down squarely, supported all the way around. Hit that, hit extrude. Now, sometimes if you don't know whether you want to go negative or positive on your number, if you just move this out, you'll see that that's positive. So you actually want to go this way. You also see, if you look over here, that if I come out positive, it changes automatically the join. And if I go the other way with it, it'll change automatically the cut. So it's pretty smart. So I can just run that right through. Now that doesn't look like it hits it, but that's just because of the sketch is skewed when it's in 3D. Okay. Turn that sketch off. See, make that thing go away. Yeah. Now I'm going to flip it over. I want to see if I went all the way through. Nope, I didn't go all the way through. I'm going to hit that extrude down here. I'm going to highlight this extrusion to see how far I did go. So yeah, gave myself some room. That's probably plenty. So that's the top bracket. To make the bottom bracket, what I'm going to do is just save as dust shoe bottom bracket. Okay, and hit enter. So now I'm working on the bottom one, and it's looking good. All I need to do to this one is to flip it over on the bottom. So I'll just flip it over until I see the bottom. You know, for some reason I just don't like the way that's, I feel like it should be this way. I'm going to create a sketch. And we are going to put in some magnets. So I have some constraints here as far as where I can put. I don't necessarily want one in here. I don't want any in this section. So my first magnet is going to be here and where it thickens out. So I'll hit circle and I will put one right here. Whoa. And these need to be 10.5. To me that looks, I mean, you can zoom on this. To me that looks evenly spaced. They don't really need to be dimensioned perfectly because the only thing they need to line up with is themselves, and I'm just going to use this as a template for the next part that they line up with, so it's going to be okay anyway. I'm probably going to put one over here, which means a third one will go there. So let's just do it again. So circle, put one in here. I want 10.5, and then one over here. I don't know why that's blinking like that. I don't know what. I tell you, I get some. I can shut the body off. That looks pretty good to me. That gives us 3 there. I think we're just going to put one here. 10.5. Definitely want one here. Want one over here. I feel like this one could go over here. And that one could go over here. This one could probably go over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That should be plenty of magnets. All right, I think I can live with that. So now we finish the sketch. Click on each item. You have to hit shift. I apologize. I don't know why that's flashing like that. There we go. Hit extrude. And if you tip it up, you should get the arrow things. There they are. So we want to go down because this is the bottom. If you put your body on. See, yep. So we want to go down 2 millimeters. 2.1. 0.1. Okay, and there, now we've got, I'll shut the sketches off. I don't want to see those, just the part. There's the top. And there's the bottom. And that will go, so we'll have the first one we designed will be up here. Second one will design will be down here. This one go at the bottom of the spindle. The two of them together will hold the pipe straight. The magnets on the bottom one will hold the dust shoe, and that'll be awesome. So that's where this video is going to conclude. I may or may not make the video of designing the actual dust shoe, but it will start with saving this as the dust shoe and modifying it. So I'll be able to use all these geometries without reinventing the wheel. So thanks for joining me. I hope you learned something. Again, leave comments below if there's things I'm just doing horribly wrong that could be done better. Always looking to grow and learn like the rest of you. All right.